Welcome. I'm Kelly Kearney with Starry Constellation Magazine, and with me today is the star of the new Lifetime drama, It's a Thriller, Guys. He slid into her DMs, Stella Gregg. Thanks for stopping by, Stella.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. This was it's a thriller. It's a Lifetime thriller. Fans are going to be
hmm
excited about it. This is your first film, your first starring role film, correct?
It is. It's my first film in general.
Oh wow! And
Yeah, which
obviously
is
for
very
Lifetime, it's
exciting.
kind of a great way to break into the business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's a really, really fantastic catalyst. And to have that just be the first thing is so rare. And I'm so lucky for that.
Yeah, you played Bernie, the lead character. She's
hmm
a young online influencer, about
hmm
17 years old, and she has this thrilling kind of face-to-face encounter with an
hmm
online stalker. How did this project come to you?
Okay. So funnily enough, auditioned for the role of like the mean best friend.
Oh,
Yeah, which is very crazy because it's just polar opposite from Bernie.
right.
And then I got pinned to play Bernie. And then I didn't have a callback. I didn't audition for Bernie. I just booked Bernie based off of my audition um as the mean best friend, which is wild that they were able to get that from that audition.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what was it about the script that made you want to sign on to the project and even audition for the friend?
I think that social media is a really, really nuanced, complicated phenomenon that is obviously very new. And it's so easy for people in general, especially influencers, to curate this picture perfect white picket fence life. And then it makes other people and their followers, it's inevitable to feel a little bit inadequate in that sense, where you're like, well, I don't get to, I don't get to have that life. I have a 9 to 5 job. I don't get to go to Air One every single day for every single meal, And
Mm-hmm.
it's a very polished world. And I get it because who doesn't want everyone to think that their life is put together and that they're on top of it? Everyone would want that. And I'm guilty of that too. Of course I want that. But it also sets a really unrealistic standard. And I think that I thought that this project was really, really fun and interesting because it talks about the downsides of social media and how dangerous it can be. And also that there's always so much more behind the scenes that people don't know.
Sure, sure.
Like in
And
Bernie's life, there's so much happening behind her
right.
perfect influencer world.
Right, and that's just really speaks to the kind of world we're living in right now. Everyone has
hmm
very easy access to us through social media, and
hmm
oftentimes we can kind of drop our our caution when
hmm
posting. Did you find after you played Bernie, you were a little bit more cautious about what you posted on social media, who you interacted with?
I think so. I think growing up, I'm really lucky that my parents were very, very diligent about digital footprint. I was not allowed to have a phone until I was like 12, I think, maybe 13. Like Instagram, I made a whole PowerPoint that I tried to convince my parents to let me have because they were so strict about that. And that they would always say, once it's out there, it's out there. You can delete it from your feed, but it's out there.
Right.
And so that's always been in the back of my mind. And so I feel like that's been conditioned into me from a very young age. And so I feel pretty cautious about what I put out into the world and if it aligns with me and my values. And I always think like if I'm wearing something in a post, would I be comfortable wearing that like maybe in a grocery store,
Right,
you know,
right. Well,
or
it's
like
also
with a
interesting that
stranger?
your parents, who have come from this business, your
hmm
mother Jennifer Grey, your father
hmm
Clark Gregg, actors, well-known actors, they probably had a little uh, more understanding of this social media caution when you were a kid. It's funny
Mm-hmm.
that you made a PowerPoint to try to convince them.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back as an adult, you probably, and you've played this role, now you kind of got an idea of the dangers of it. You probably look
Mm-hmm.
back on that and think, oh, my parents were pretty smart.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm so in the moment, of course, I was like, oh, you guys are out to get me. But
Of course.
now I'm just would not want it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of parents, Courtney Thorne-Smith, known for roles in
Mm-hmm.
Melrose Place and Ally McBeal and Two and a Half Men, according to Jim, she plays her mother in this movie. What was it like building that mother-daughter relationship with her?
She is so phenomenal. And it was just very, very nice to have a maternal figure in general on a set, let alone
Right.
a set of my first movie where I was already kind of going into it as the lead. It was kind of, I felt like a little bit going in blind. And of course, I had experience in that world, but not where I was working in it. And
Right.
to have a maternal figure that was able to help me run lines and just kind of ground me when we were in hair and makeup and talk about just life stuff, about my parents, about my boyfriend, about whatever it was. And I felt like it was very, very easy for me to connect with her. And because I felt so taken under her wing on set, it was really easy for me to connect with her on a mother-daughter level.
Yeah, I'm sure because she's a veteran actress,
Mm-hmm.
television and screen. You probably leaned into a little bit of her experiences on set, which maybe gave you a little bit more comfort being the lead in this film, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously she would have some experience in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the relationship was pretty great between you two. Let's talk about your other co-star, Kane Clark, who plays Zach, your boyfriend, your
Mm-hmm.
on again, off again boyfriend.
Yeah.
Did this movie do a chemistry read before you were cast, or did you guys meet on set and just get it on right
No,
then?
we just met on the first day and
Nice.
like we met and then an hour later we were having to kiss for a scene, which is just how it goes.
So it goes.
Yeah.
Well, what was the most challenging scene to film in the movie? Looking back on it,
I think it's interesting because I think that there were challenging physical scenes and
yeah,
challenging emotional scenes. I think that the most challenging physical scene was the like all the stunts happening
yeah.
um when when I get attacked. Um I I had to get pulled out of a cupboard and like dragged and the cupboard was like above the ground and so when I got dragged it was just you heard a thump.
Mm.
That thump would be my tailbone. Yeah.
Mm.
And I was very, very persistent about I want the shot to look as real. And I want, if we're going to do this, I want to do it right. And so I want, if my face is going to be shown in it, I'll do it. And I'd rather the stunt double not do it so it can be as good as it can be.
Did it put you in
And
that mindset in that scene?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But then I kept doing it and they were like, oh, we're going to get it from this angle. And so then by the end of the day, my tailbone was a bit bruised, but it was worth it because I think we got the shot where it's going to look as real as it can be and it's not going to look like someone else is getting dragged out.
Yeah, that's really
So,
important, I think, for
yeah.
authenticity and just for an actor to feel like you're really in the scene and in the
Mm-hmm.
emotions. It helps build that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about working with actress turned director Alicia Coppola. Not related to the famous Coppola family, another Coppola family. I know that gets confusing to some people. How did her vision for this film impact your performance? Did she have any ideas that she it kind of reset your brain and playing Bernie? Oh, okay, I'm going to approach it that way. I didn't see it that way.
I think that what's really wonderful about her is that she, of course, has experience as an actress.
Sure, yeah.
And so she knows how to approach it in a way that would be helpful feedback for an actor. And it was really great because there were scenes that I needed to take a few minutes before to emotionally prepare for. And she not only understood that, but took time and designated time of the day to make that for me.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's very rare. And I felt like she also knew that if it was a really emotional scene, that if I, as an actress, if I kept doing it, it was going to drain me and it wasn't going to be as authentic. And so because of her experience, she knew, okay, let's do it once or twice and it's going to be raw and it's going to be real and that's going to be good. And that
Well,
was
that's
really
fantastic.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really fantastic, especially considering there's always a budget. You always have to get
Mm-hmm.
shots in under time
Mm-hmm.
to give you room to kind of get into the emotions that you need to be in.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important for a director and also for an actress to trust her director to give her that time.
Totally.
So that, yeah, that's great. And yeah, she definitely has been around in Hollywood, so she knows that director actress
Mm-hmm.
relationship pretty well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the movie is obviously, the themes of the movie are dark and it's based
Mm-hmm.
on a true story, which is not hard to believe considering the world we live in now with social media.
Yeah.
Does the film convey a message to young people that they should be paying attention to, you think?
I think that there's a lot of messages kind of woven into it. I think that kind of what I was saying before that, and I even say this in the movie, don't believe everything you see online.
Mm.
And it's, of course, easy to see when you see visuals of people going to fancy dinners and wearing expensive clothes and whatever it is and having perfect skin or whatever it is. And then you don't see them on days when they're not feeling their best and maybe they have an acne breakout.
Right.
And you never know. Like they're human. Things like that happen and it's just not broadcast. And so I think that the biggest thing that I took away from it, and also I would hope other people would take away from it, was to give themselves grace.
Mm.
Um, that someone's life might look polished and perfect and manicured, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like that all the time. And that doesn't mean that they're any less than because of that. And that their world has just as much value, regardless of what their feed looks like.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
We lack a little bit of authenticity these days with
Mm-hmm.
social media, and in this film, it certainly collides with some rather dark themes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about growing up in a Hollywood and Broadway
Mm-hmm.
family and what that means for you as an actress. Was obviously acting was in your blood. I mean, it's like a DNA thing at
Mm-hmm.
this point. It's been passed down from generation to generation. Did you always have aspirations to be on the stage or on screen, or did that develop later as you got older?
What's funny is I didn't really know that my parents were in the public eye, one, but also actors. Like
And
I
grandfather too.
exactly, yeah. And well, when I was two, my grandpa was doing Wicked. So I had an idea that he was performing something or doing something like that, but I didn't know the extent of it or that it was a phenomenon like Wicked.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, I remember my favorite movie, funnily enough, was The Wizard of Oz.
Mm.
And I would watch it every single day. And I had a little Dorothy dress that I would wear to preschool. And every time I would watch it, I would want to reenact it afterwards. And I just kind of fell in love with the concept of storytelling and how impactful it was that I all of a sudden could feel sad and all of a sudden I could feel scared and all of a sudden I could feel really, really happy, all from one story and the way that it was told and the way that it was done. Obviously, I didn't think of it like that because I was like 3,
Right.
but I thought it was like magic. And I wanted more than anything to just recreate stories and tell stories. And I did my first community theater production when I was 3 or 4, and I played Dorothy, which is
Oh
funny. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And I remember when I was doing that, it's crazy that I remember this, but I just remember feeling so comfortable
Hmm.
as a 3-year-old on stage alone, singing as the opening number.
Not the usual.
not the usual. And I felt really, really safe. And I didn't know that my parents were even in that realm. And so as I grew up, I was like, oh, they're doing the same thing that I want to do, as if like I thought of it first. Um, which is so funny.
That is
Um,
funny.
like, oh, they're catching on to my trend. Um, but yeah, it was phenomenal because I was able to have really, really helpful and informative experiences on set growing up.
Yeah, because you probably spent some time on set with your parents. You kind of got
A ton, yeah.
a view of how things were made, the magic of
hmm
filmmaking and TV.
Yeah.
And you probably had a front row seat to that. I'm sure that that
hmm
continued to excite you and want you to be a part of it as you got older.
Yeah, it also, I think it made me fall in love with what a team effort it is and how much and how
Yeah.
crucial every role is in it. Every grip, every cameraman, every stunt double, every single person plays a crucial role in it that is so necessary for it to come to fruition. And I just love the familial aspect of that and the team effort of that. And I just kind of fell in love with, oh, it's so cool when you do the camera from this angle, or when it's written like this. And I became just infatuated with the process of movie making,
Hmm.
which is so
Perhaps there
rare.
might be a director in the Gray family, the Gregg family
Yeah.
in the future because it seems like you have an eye for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
mean,
what's
I'd
the best?
love to do anything like
You'd
that.
love to do that? Oh, that's
hmm
fantastic. Well, what's the best advice your parents, fellow, like I said, fellow actors Jennifer Grey and Clark Gregg, gave you about becoming an actress? Is there something in particular that young people would maybe want to hear if they're starting out in the business that maybe
hmm
they might not know because they don't have the privilege of having two
hmm
actors as parents who have been there and done that?
I think there's two things. I think number one is my parents were very diligent about this is not about being famous. This is not about being on camera and getting attention. This is about this is a craft that you have to take seriously and pay it respect, like just as if it were dance or,
Right.
painting or whatever it was. And at the end of the day, it's career, it's work, and you got to put in the hours. And so I wasn't allowed to audition until I was out of high school.
Oh,
And they were like, until then, you can use this time to learn technique and the craft and get your reps in. Because at the end of the day, you have to have respect and love for the craft to be able to thrive in this environment, in this career. And so I took the opportunity during my middle and high school years to do improv, took a screenwriting course. I did a ton of like acting workshops in New York and at UCLA and all this stuff. And because of that, I was able to set myself up for success more. So I think that that was really helpful. And then I think another thing that they've taught me is when you get an audition sent to you, it's not a matter of trying to, oh, I hope they like me. Like, of course, that's the automatic, instinctual thought to have.
of course.
But what it's really about is how can I do this character justice? How can I serve them with what the info I was given? And also, how can I have fun with it? Because at the end of the day, if I'm not having fun with it, they're not going to have fun watching it.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it comes down to, oh, this person's eye color is the same as her eye color. And so we can't have two people with this eye color or whatever it
Mm.
is. Like it's very minute things. And so it's not a matter of, oh, I'm not good enough. It's just a matter of, oh, she looks too much just like this other person that's already cast or whatever it is. And it's just a lot of tiny, tiny things that don't have anything to do with that person or their talent. Sometimes it does, but not all the time, you know? So I think
And
those are
so
the two things I would say.
and sometimes for younger people, all of those no's and all of those nitpickings that, maybe you don't have the right eye color, it has nothing to do with your talent. It has nothing to
Yeah.
do with your craft. And oftentimes a lot of no's before you're able to handle it can be a lot to swallow for a young person. I think your parents are really wise to do that.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky.
You are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next for you, Stella? You have this movie coming out. Are you working on any other projects that we can look out for?
Not right now. I'm just kind of prepping for this release.
Yep.
And been auditioning
Oh,
and
perfect.
yeah, hopefully something comes up soon. I'm excited. I like the idea of wheels turning. That's very thrilling.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely. And I
nothing
hope you
officially.
get some callbacks for that because yeah, this performance was great. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
Lifetime movies are fantastic for people breaking out into the business.
Hmm.
You know, you get your name out there, you get, you know, these high emotions in these movies, you know, people can
Hmm.
kind of see your range and it's really a good breakout role, I think.
Thank you so much. That's really, really kind.